I never imagined that signing up for a music class would change my life. I had always loved music, but my voice had always been something I was too shy to explore in public. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, I walked into the small studio tucked away on a quiet street, the kind of place that smelled faintly of old books and polished wood. The walls were lined with guitars, keyboards, and a handful of sheet music scattered here and there, waiting to be played. "Hi, I'm here for the vocal class," I mumbled, clutching my notebook nervously. A soft, melodic voice answered from the corner. "You must be new. I'm Serena, your trainer. Don't worry, you're in good hands." She had this presence, effortlessly calm, yet impossible to ignore. Her hair fell in loose waves over her shoulders, and her eyes sparkled with a mix of kindness and something I couldn't quite name. The class started, and I was immediately captivated. Serena had this way of teaching that felt less like lessons and more like a gentle conversation with music itself. She encouraged everyone to find their own voice, to let the song come from the heart. I tried to follow her instructions, but every time she leaned close to adjust my posture or smiled when I hit a note just right, I felt a strange warmth that went far beyond the thrill of singing. By the end of the session, I realized I had been staring at her longer than I should have. Listening not just to her instructions, but to the soft rhythm of her laughter, the way her voice lingered even after the class ended. Walking home, I couldn't shake the thought of her from my mind. I told myself it was silly. After all, she was my trainer, and I had no reason to feel this. But deep down, I knew something had shifted the moment I stepped into that little studio. And little did I know, the next class would blur the line between admiration and something far more dangerous. Something intoxicating. The following week, I arrived at the studio early, my stomach buzzing with anticipation. Serena was already there, tuning a piano in the corner, her fingers moving gracefully over the keys. She looked up and smiled when she saw me. That smile, it made my heart stumble over itself. "Good to see you again. Ready for today?" she asked, her voice like honey. I nodded, suddenly aware of how awkward I probably looked. She laughed softly, the kind of laugh that made everything else in the room fade away. "Today," she said, "we'd be trying something new, a duet." She paired me with another student, but as fate would have it, the other person had to leave, leaving just the two of us. "Looks like it's just you and me," she said, her tone teasing but gentle. "Hope you don't mind." I swallowed hard, feeling my pulse spike. The music began, a slow, haunting melody that seemed to stretch time itself. Serena's voice intertwined with mine effortlessly, each note perfectly complementing the other. I could feel her presence close, the warmth of her shoulder brushing mine as we harmonized. My hands shook slightly on the keys, but she placed her hand over mine, guiding me with a touch that sent a shiver up my spine. "Don't worry," she whispered. "Just feel the music." I did. And suddenly, it wasn't just the music I was feeling. It was her, every subtle movement, every glance, every breath she took near me. It was overwhelming, intoxicating, and undeniably real. By the end of the duet, my cheeks were flushed, and I had to avert my eyes to hide the way my heart was racing. Serena gave me a small, encouraging smile, brushing a stray hair behind my ear, and said, "You're improving faster than I expected. Keep this up, and you might surprise yourself." As I walked home, I replayed every moment, every touch, every note. I couldn't tell if it was my imagination. It had become a bridge, pulling me closer to her in ways I wasn't ready to define. I knew one thing for certain. I wanted to see her again. And not just for the music. The next class, I arrived with a mix of excitement and nerves I could barely contain. Serena was already there, arranging sheet music on the piano. When she looked up and caught my eyes, her smile made my chest tighten in a way that was both thrilling and terrifying. Ready for today? She asked, her voice softer this time, almost as if she knew I'd been thinking about her all week. The class began, and as usual, Serena moved around the room, offering corrections, tips, and encouragement. But this time, I noticed her lingering a little longer near me, her fingers lightly brushing mine when she handed me a sheet of music, her eyes meeting mine with a spark I couldn't quite read. During a break, she invited me to stay behind. "I think you could use some one-on-one time," she said, her smile gentle but intimate. My heart raced. We sat at the piano together, and she guided my hands over the keys, her touch lingering a fraction longer than necessary. "Music is about connection," she whispered, her face close enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath. "It's about trust, and sometimes letting someone in." I didn't know what to say. I was acutely aware of every detail. Her perfume, the soft cadence of her voice, the way her hair fell over her shoulder. It felt like we were the only two people in the world, wrapped up in a melody that existed just for us. At one point, our hands brushed while reaching for the same keys, and I felt a spark that had nothing to do with music. Serena looked at me, her eyes searching, and I knew she had noticed it too. "Keep practicing like this," she said softly, standing up and giving me a look that lingered far too long for it to be casual. "You're going to go far." Walking home, I replayed every moment over and over. I was falling not just for the music, but for her. Every glance, every touch, every whispered word felt like a secret we were sharing, a melody of desire I didn't know how to resist. And yet, the question lingered in my mind. Did she feel it too? A week later, Serena asked me if I wanted a private lesson. My heart leapt. I couldn't believe I'd actually get more time with her, just the two of us. I told myself it was about improving my voice, but deep down I knew I wanted more than just lessons. The studio was quiet when I arrived. The afternoon light streamed through the windows, casting golden patterns on the floor. Serena greeted me with that same warm smile, but there was something softer in her eyes today, something that made my pulse race. "Let's work on control and emotion," she said, her voice low and soothing. She handed me a song sheet, and we began. I tried to focus, but it was nearly impossible with her so close. Her hand brushed mine as she adjusted my posture, her touch sending a shiver down my spine. "Remember," she murmured, leaning in slightly, "sing from your heart. Feel every word." I could barely breathe. Her presence was magnetic. Every glance, every subtle movement seemed to pull me in deeper. When she sang alongside me, our voices intertwined in a way that felt almost intimate, like we were sharing something private, something unspoken. Halfway through the lesson, she stopped and looked at me with a softness I couldn't ignore. "You have a natural rhythm, and a lot of passion," she said, her eyes lingering on mine. "It's rare to see someone so in tune with themselves." I didn't know what to say. My cheeks flushed, my heart racing faster than the music. She stepped closer, and for a moment, it felt like the world had shrunk to just the two of us. Her hand grazed mine again, and I didn't pull away. "Sometimes, the music is just an excuse," she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. My entire body went still, aware of the tension building between us. The lesson ended, but neither of us moved to leave immediately. We lingered, caught in the quiet after the music, in a space that felt charged and intimate. I knew something was shifting between us, between desire and fear, between what was right and what I secretly longed for. And I was powerless to resist. The next lesson, I arrived with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. My heart thumped as soon as I stepped into the studio, and I was relieved to see Serena already there, humming softly as she arranged the sheet music. When our eyes met, she gave me a small, knowing smile that made my knees weak. "Glad you're here," she said softly. "I've been looking forward to today." The class began, but the music barely registered. I was hyper-aware of every movement, every gesture, every inflection in her voice. Her proximity was intoxicating. Every time she leaned over to correct my posture or guide my hands, I felt a flutter of something I couldn't quite name. Halfway through the lesson, Serena paused and studied me with an intensity that made my pulse spike. "You know," she said slowly, "sometimes people come to music for the wrong reasons, or maybe the right ones." She smiled, but there was a softness there that made my stomach twist. I don't understand," I stammered, my voice betraying my nerves. She stepped closer, lowering her voice so it was just for me. "I mean, sometimes what we feel isn't just about music." Her eyes searched mine, vulnerability and curiosity mingling in a way that made my chest ache. Before I could think, words tumbled out of me. I think I like you," I confessed, my cheeks burning. More than just as a trainer." There was a pause, a heartbeat that stretched into eternity. Serena's lips curved into a gentle, tender smile. "I was hoping you'd say that." "I like you too, more than I probably should." The music around us faded into the background, replaced by the hum of anticipation, desire, and something far deeper. We were two people standing on the edge of a boundary neither of us wanted to cross lightly, but neither wanted to step back from either. In that moment, it wasn't just music connecting us. It was longing, attraction, and the thrill of discovering something forbidden yet exhilarating. Something that could change everything, if we dared to follow it. After that confession, everything between us shifted. The music lessons no longer felt like lessons, they were private escapes, moments where the world shrank down to just the two of us. Every glance, every touch, every word carried a tension that was impossible to ignore. One evening, after the studio had emptied and the golden light of sunset streamed through the windows, Serena asked me to stay behind. "I want to hear something." "Something just for us," she said, her voice soft and intimate. We sat at the piano together, hands brushing as we played a gentle melody. I could feel her close to me, and with every note, every harmony, the distance between us melted away. Our eyes met, and I realized that what I had been feeling all along, this pull, this desire, was mutual. "Can I?" Serena began, her voice almost a whisper. "Can I do something?" Before I could respond, she leaned in slowly. My heart raced as her lips met mine in a tender, hesitant kiss. It was soft at first, a question wrapped in warmth, but it deepened almost immediately, a gentle surrender to the emotions we'd both been holding back. I felt electricity surge through me, a mixture of nervousness, longing, and overwhelming happiness. For a moment, the piano, the music, even time itself disappeared. There was only her, only this kiss. When we finally pulled back, we were both breathless, smiles spreading across our faces. "I've wanted this for a long time," she admitted, her forehead resting against mine. "Me too," I whispered, laughing softly, unable to hide the joy and relief that bubbled inside me. From that day on, our music lessons became something far more beautiful than notes and melodies. They were our secret world, a place where love, desire, and music intertwined in perfect harmony. I had joined a music class seeking to find my voice, but I found something infinitely more precious, her. And in her, I discovered not just a teacher, but a partner, a muse, and the most intoxicating melody of my life.